Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to our NFL Weekly Review. We're back on schedule this week. Going to talk about last weekend's exciting wild card action. Take a look ahead at the divisional round. We got Rob Riley, Justin Walters, Wilson Tarpey Jr. And again, welcome to the NFL Weekly Review. So, where do you guys want to start? I guess we can start with a game that was just – the Bills are always an experience. They either beat you by 70 or they just make it extremely –
Or they barely win.
even when they should win comfortably. They don't like winning comfortably unless it's by more than 30. So we can start with you, Rob. Just your thoughts on the Bills beating the Colts 27-24.
So I just rewatched the breakdown of that game, and I was just looking at it. And the Colts actually, they had several opportunities to actually win that game. And the Bills, they got lucky, man. They were probably an interception away before, that game was going the other way with the Colts. But I think they will be okay in the long run. They're going to be fine. But you can just tell they're young. You know what I mean? You can tell that Josh Allen is young because a lot of the mistakes he made, you didn't see those in most of the games that he played this year because he's just been hot. He's been feeling it. He's been just doing this thing. And then I think this past weekend, he had a wake-up call like, hey, these are real defenses now. This is no longer the regular season, man. Those passes you was getting away with before, you're not going to be able to get away with those. There was a couple times he should have been picked off. But, luckily for him, he played Phillip Rivers. And, Phillip Rivers likes to do things where he don't like to win football games, I think, sometimes. Because he had several opportunities to make things happen. Toward the end of the game, he threw the ball away like 3 or 4 times. I'm going, dude, hey, man, y'all trying to win. You can't throw the ball away because you better make something happen. You got to figure something out. But, overall, I think the Bills played a pretty decent game, pretty solid game. The Colts, I was more disappointed with the Colts and their performance, man, and just missing field goals and just missed opportunities. It's just, I figured, I don't know what was going on with them, but it's almost like they didn't really show up. And when they did show up, it was too late. They tried to crawl back in, and it was just too late by that point. So it was a fun game to watch. It was definitely an entertaining game to watch. From a fan standpoint, I had a lot of fun watching that game. So,
All right, Justin.
Yeah, I think, like Rob was saying, I think the Colts really should have won that game. I think it's just like, I think in the Bills case, like that first win, that first playoff win for Allen is like that first hurdle. You know what I mean? Like if they lost this game, it could have been like a thing where, how they say Lamar can't win a game or this guy can't win a playoff game. Like they really didn't deserve to win that game, but they pulled it off. And I think the Colts are probably looking at that like, yeah, we outplayed them. There's a couple of drives early where they either could have took a field goal or had a chance to score a touchdown and didn't. And, that game could have been over early.
yeah.
And I think a guy like Allen, we know how bad last year's playoff run was. He had a couple. He had some crazy plays in that game. So, which makes me still not trust him. But this year, I think he's slowly that's the next step. He got his first playoff win, and now you hope that it says, okay, now let's get a good run going. Maybe this is the beginning of a run for them. And I mean, I think as a Colts fan, they're in a tough situation because it's like, do we run it back because we had the Bills beat, or do you say we can't rely on Rivers because, I mean, that's who he is. Unfortunately, he's a great regular season guy, and there's a level to what he can play, and that's a solid team, a good defense. They make you work. And I think Allen's been getting away with so much. I think they force him to be patient, and that's not his game. He's more of a big play guy, and I think the Colts put him in some tough situations. And again, if the offense finished some drives, it's a whole nother story. And I think that's a big thing for the Bills. And again, you hope this is their thing. Like, okay, we got through our first one. Now let's see what happens. Because they might be one of the only teams that can really give the Chiefs a run, if Allen's on his game and Diggs and that type of thing. So it'd be interesting to watch. But the Bills pulled it off, and I like to just say maybe it was just a learning experience, and they move on from there.
Yes, I mean a good thing for the Colts. You got money. Listening to what Chris Ballard was talking about, and I like this approach because people today it has to be one way or the other. Opposite extremes, no matter what. He was just kind of like, we're going to try to find our quarterback. We're not going to force the issue. But we're gonna try to find our guy if it comes along. You know, be the guy he talked about the kid they had behind Rivers, how they feel good about him. But like, you know, if they come into a situation, like they'll upgrade. Sounds familiar, but some people go crazy about that type of thing. The other thing you can't rule out with the Colts is they could just do the Rivers thing again with somebody not named Rivers.
Yeah.
They have the cap room to do it. We're gonna be in a situation, you know, when the season finally ends, it's gonna be young quarterbacks. They're gonna be all types of different quarterbacks available. And if you're a team with cap space, you're just picking and choosing. The Colts, their roster's fine in a lot of different places. Like they have the luxury of going to the offseason like, hey, we need one or two things. They can go on a draft, they get going to free agency, maybe take a quarterback, you know, go on a draft and seeing how life looks. Maybe we trade up if the board shakes out. Maybe we don't. Maybe we take somebody early. Maybe we don't. But again, they got cap room, flexibility. They're in a good place. Like, I mean, so the 39-year-old didn't get it done. Oh my God! Oh no! Are you stuck with them for the next 5 years? You're not.
No, that's the plus. That's the plus behind it. So yeah.
But that's the scary thing of don't go into run it back mode. Like,
yeah. No. Go ahead.
No, I think I agree. I think like that's the thing is like don't go into and we almost had him. Let's run it back because that's how you next thing you know you're 4-12. Like I think you're in a good situation and Rivers did a great job, but sometimes that loyalty or that trust or you know Reich and him have a relationship, but at some point you look around and say, hey, we got a really good team here. This defense makes everyone work. This is a good defense. We got some weapons on, you know, Jonathan Taylor and a good offensive line. And maybe you just say, hey, let's you know, there's a lot of, like you said, the quarterback position is going to be really weird this offseason with the rookies and the fourth year quarterbacks that might not get their their offer picked up or whatever.
Right.
Like, maybe you take a chance and look at I don't want to say a Darnold or a Jameis or like maybe that's that step that puts you to the next level, you know. So I think that's a big thing for them.
Yeah, I think Darnold's probably staying in New York. But yeah, you take a swing at Jameis. I'm not trying to be funny, but like take a swing at Jameis. You can go back to the same team you traded for first round pick with previous year. Go get James, somebody with some experience. They don't like the thing with the coach. You don't need a world beater under center right now because of how your roster is constructed. You just need somebody to execute.
Don't kill us. Don't kill us. Don't kill us. Bring in a guy that's not going to bury us.
Especially like you said with the running back you have. Like think about all the pivotal players they have on
running backs.
Yes. Yep.
Running back.
Yep.
Yeah, their backfield is actually pretty stacked. It's pretty decent.
It is. I was talking about the bigger one that's only going to go in here too.
Right. Year. Right.
That is really scary. Not to knock the other tiny one.
Right. No, I got you.
But yeah.
You potentially got a bell cow in a split backfield, right? You got a real nice, like you said, Rob. You got a real nice. They complement each other pretty well. DeForest is locked in. Darius is locked in. You doing a thing. I've seen this before with your secondary. You're not paying nobody no crazy bread back there either. So go on with your life. Like you're in a good place. So again, and they have flexibility. So we'll see what happens. But there's a lot of different ways you can get a quarterback. So many different ways. And then, like you guys said, with free agency, I know everybody's getting excited about how the draft could play out and all this other stuff, man. When some of these coaching hires happen too, we'll get into that later. That's going to alter the draft simply by the people that got hired and where they got hired. Right. Some of these people aren't going to want to start over under center when they don't have to. They're bringing something to the table that allows them to not have to do that and focus on other parts of the team. And, you know, those are like the coach could be somebody who takes somebody day two. And it could be their guy 6 years down the road, but this year it'd be a backup. And it costs you nothing. Like, so what?
Right.
Just go get a cheaper not fill up this year and it's fine.
Yeah. Well, you're one of the few teams that actually has a solid defense. Like there's not many teams in the NFL that have a solid defense. So the fact that you have a defense allows you to where you don't have to score 40 a game. They could have won this game with 30. They could have won this game with 27. So I think they're in a good position where don't throw that away because soon you're going to be paying some people, and that's where you run into that problem. You know, I think that's where they are.
Not only that, you got above average offensive line too. Mm-hmm. There's no reason to do anything crazy. Like you have all the things where if you take the non-conventional or less experienced starter, you have all the other things that you would like around a less experienced starter.
Yeah.
Not to mention the weapons you got, like Pittman's on his way. There's a lot of things going for you, man. So again, great. They're in a good place. NFC West battle here. Again, not shocked, but Pete Carroll pretty much came out and said he had enough of this throwing the ball all around, fancy stuff. We going back to ground and pound. I don't like this. I don't like all this putting the ball in the air and taking risk and us not scoring. He's like, I was cool winning 14-17. Y'all felt about it, but I was cool. We was winning my way. So you can obviously see the Seahawks try to get back to some balance or whatever, but like essentially with them, I don't care what they do because up front, their offense doesn't match up. Like the Rams match up too well. It's advantage Rams defense against their offense no matter what happens. They got an Aaron Donald. They got a Jalen Ramsey, which renders a bunch of your stuff just useless. Credit to the Rams defensive coordinator. And then each other. Like that offense has effects on different parts of the league. Man, you see it all the time. You don't care. And no offense to the Rams, Again, you see it too many times. Again, you got it just doesn't match up too well. But you guys take on this. We can start with you, Justin, on this one.
If that wasn't Pete Carroll, I think a coach would really have a chance to be fired. Like, look at the Rams, what you walked into. Like, the Rams were, not to say a laughing stock, but you're looking at John Wolford, or whatever his name is, and Goff coming off the bench. So you're like, the Rams don't stand a chance unless their defense dominates in a league where defenses don't dominate. And you lost to a defense.
Yeah.
You legit lost to a one-dimensional offense and a defense. With the team, I think about 8 to 10 weeks ago, we were talking about letting Russ cook and what they had discovered. That's scary. So, I mean, at some point, we're not looking at whether it's run or pass. We're looking at a team that hasn't made adjustments. Mm-hmm. A team that I don't care who you are, you've been figured out. And as good as the Rams are defensively, these are the same Rams that lost to the Jets a couple weeks ago. Like, you know what I mean? So let's not act like this is this dynasty. You put yourself in a box. This is who you are, and you are fine. Like the Seattle offense hasn't been dominant over the last few months. No. So at some point, you didn't make any changes, and I think remember me and Wilson talked about an article we saw about them being dependent on letting Russ make these game-changing plays. These 2 to 3 plays a game that, okay, we're going to score 14 points because Russ is going to run around and find DK. DK wasn't dominant. DK had 2 big plays. Russ had 2 big plays. Otherwise, Russ might have thrown for 35 yards. Yeah. So at some point, as a team, and Russ too, not going to let Russ escape this, but your team has become whatever it is, and that's scary. The Rams scored on defense. You know what I mean? And just the fact that you're allowing a team defensively with whether it's Ramsey and Donald to shut you down and do that. I mean, and do that to you. And offensively, Goff didn't play great. Goff didn't play good.
No.
You lost this game as a team that at one point was a Super Bowl favorite. That says a lot, whether it's Carroll. Carroll's the head coach, so it falls on him, whether we want to blame Schottenheimer and defensively letting that happen to you. The Seahawks, I mean, we knew because we are, as 49er fans, we know that they were kind of a paper tiger. They went from a defensive team to a 100% Russ-dependent team. You paid all that money for Adams. Come to find out, the rest of that division is happy to see Adams. You know what I mean? Okay, we'll let you get 4 or 5 little cheap tackles, but we going at you because we don't respect you as a cover guy because that's what safeties do in today's game. So you heard our quarterback. You got a couple blitzes, but unfortunately, the Rams ain't scared of him. The 49ers ain't scared of him. So where's that go? Because that's where all your money's like put into Russ and Adams for the next few years. So how do you fix that? You know what I mean? You're going to keep blaming different people, but until they make that change and let Russ and DK and Lockett become a real offense, you're going to struggle. So I think it really, I hate to say Seattle should be embarrassed And you got to give the Rams defensive coordinator. I mean, I respect the defensive coordinator for the Rams a lot because he's used those 2 players and made 9 other guys look like all pros. I mean, that's because he's going to get a lot of guys paid off the strength of the way he's used Ramsey and Donald. And I mean, you got to respect that, and we'll see what it does for them this week. But that's just, I mean, it just says a lot for Seattle, really.
So I was thinking, you mentioned the word adjustments. Remember, we talked about adjustments a lot this year. You know what I mean? And in Seattle, that was one of those teams, man, where we had Russ at one point top of the line for MVP because that's just how he's balling out.
Yep.
But they never adjusted because after a while, it's like the rest of the league caught up, was like, all right, we got it. Now we know what they're doing. And they didn't go, oh, we need to change the game plan. They said, no, I'm going to kill him with this one. Man. I'm going to put it on this side of the rotation now. It's like, that's not going to work. Y'all didn't make any adjustments whatsoever. And so once they were able to figure them out, that was it. So, I mean, I get it. Somebody had to go. It wasn't going to be Carroll. It was going to be the offensive coordinator. You know, somebody had to go in order for them to make that change. But the bottom line is that they cannot be so dependent on Russ or just DK for that matter. You know, like you got to figure that defense out, man. Y'all can't, like you said, you flipped from Legion of Boom to now it's all about Russ. It's not even like you would flip from offense to defense. You flip from defense to Russ.
Right.
And nobody else matters. My buddy has a saying, man, about Jamal Adams, best linebacker in the league.
Yeah.
One of the best linebackers in the league. My boy Mike says it all the time. Because like I said, in coverage, they're not worried about him. They're not worried about him whatsoever. So I don't know, man. That game, it was real disappointing to see, especially because Goff was hurt. He had a broke thumb. Like, he just had surgery. He wasn't even supposed to be playing.
Right.
Wasn't supposed to be playing, and y'all lost 30-20. You couldn't figure it out. Your defense couldn't do enough against. Well, I mean, I guess they knocked the kid out the game, not purposely, but they knocked him out the game. But then you couldn't figure Goff out. Y'all couldn't make that happen. Y'all couldn't get the stops that you needed in order for Russ and those guys to do what they needed. But at the same time, Russ and those guys weren't really doing nothing. He had 174 yards, 107 in the playoff game. Like, what are we doing?
On 2 broken plays. Yep.
On 2 broken plays, because that's what. And I think both of those touchdowns came on those plays.
Yep.
They came on the scramble, find them, dump it off, and let's go. That's it. You know, so they got to go back to the drawing board, man. They got to figure their defense out as soon as possible. Even though it's an offensive league, like you said, bottom line is that you still need defenses to win championships, period. And they just goes to show you right there, because you went up against an offensive team that just wasn't – they didn't have a whole lot. They didn't have a whole lot to deal with, but they figured it out. They made the plays when it was necessary, and that's a lot of credit to McVay as well. I gotta give that man his credit, man, because he knows how to pull these guys in and say, hey, look, trust me, I got it. Just follow my lead. Most coaches in the league, they can't pull those guys in like that. Those kids over there in LA, they follow McVay and they listen to McVay and they trust in McVay, and you can see the results. It's completely different on the other side when you're looking at Pete Carroll and those guys, because Pete, he may be a quote unquote legendary coach in some people's eyes, but the bottom line is that I don't think everybody bought into that system. I don't think everybody bought into the fact that, okay, we're going to just put everything and just rely on Russ and we're going to be okay. No, man, that's not going to get it, because we're going to have to stop these teams eventually. We got to stop this guy from scoring. So I don't know, man. It was disappointing to see that game, the outcome the way it was, but that was kind of how their season went. They started off hot, and then they just slowly started to dwindle down, and then that's not the time you don't want to start, getting cold going into the playoffs, because this is going to be the end result. You're going to at the crib with us talking about these games as opposed to playing.
Yeah.
It's just bottom line. It's facts.
Right. You know, like Rob was saying, is like they've lost in the playoffs as a running team. They've lost in the playoffs as a passing team. So what's the next move? That's the reality. Like, remember of years ago, it was all running, and then this year they fixed it by becoming a passing team, and you went home both ways early. So
there's no balance.
What do you do?
There's no balance. You got to find a balance. You have to find a balance on all sides of the ball. Like, you can't just be Russ and then Adams and then hope that everybody else jumps on board. No, man. You have to have balance. You have to be able to Wilson, why you laughing like that?
All right,
But there's no balance, and that's key.
all right. So the reason I'm laughing, right, is one, I agree with everything you guys said, right? So you have two, not one, two examples of offenses in your own freaking division that literally have to live off being balanced. You, however, have more of the top end talent under center than both of those other two examples. How the heck do you game plan 4 times a year and not maybe copy half of what they do? Like that's the thing. Like literally, if I I know they fired the offensive coordinator, right? Like literally, if I was to be interviewed, you know what my like I literally come in there with a blank piece of paper. I'd be like, so, what do you bring to the table? I'm gonna grind some film on McVay and Kyle with our defensive coordinator. I'm gonna find out all this stuff that he can't stop because he's horrible at it, and we're gonna start practicing those plays. And I'm slamming my fist down on the table, walking out. Call me if you ever want to, I don't know, get out the division on purpose. Like, that's it. You have 2 examples. And you got a better quarterback than both of them.
Yeah.
Neither one. They got a Cooper Kupp, a Robert Woods. You got a DK and a Tyler Lockett.
Yeah.
Bruh, how?
Right.
How?
Makes
They
no
out
sense.
here, they can't even run their full offenses because they got Tweedledee and Tweedledum under center. You got Russ and can't figure out how to be a balanced offense. Not only do you have Russ, you got a whole wonderful stable of running backs. Are any of them Derrick Henry? No, they're not. But collectively, you got a whole bunch of dudes that aren't fun to tackle. You got Carson, you got Hyde. Like, you have folks, I think Travis Homer is still there. It's the most absurd thing in the world because you have to game plan 4 times a year for these dudes. You ain't steal nothing. You ain't even accidentally want to try anything. Yeah. Like, you had the answers to the test in your division.
It's like they either want to be a run team or a pass team. Like you can't
like
be
you
both.
Can do both, right?
Yeah.
Like you can do both, right? Like it's okay. Oh,
no balance. Like how do you have the balance? You have to have balance. It's not a tough formula to figure out how to win these games, man. You have to be great on the defensive side. You don't have to be great offensively, but you have to be able to be good both ways in order for you to go deep into the playoffs.
Right. You ever heard the saying, hope isn't a plan? Like, I feel like they show up with, like, you can't show up in an event and anything with the plan of, like, I Russell figured out. Like, you're like going into these games saying, hey, Russell scramble around and throw up a deep ball and like that. You can't walk, like, that's not consistent. Like, it might win a game here and there and it gets you through a regular season, but when you play good teams, expecting a guy to break the pocket and find an open guy, that's not a plan. Like, if that's the case, we don't need an offensive coordinator. We don't even need to huddle. And I think that's their issue, is they've been getting away with it. But the fact that the defense isn't good anymore, now 20 points don't do it. And you're not getting a 7 from an interception off of Sherman or anyone else. Like, that's the difference now, is the offense, you put it all on the offense, then the offense got pushed into a corner and realized, oh, we don't got nothing. We don't have anything. Now it's like we don't have the answers. And you get a well-coached team like a San Francisco or what's it, Los Angeles now? Whatever the Rams are now. You get a well-coached team, and they don't give you those plays. Rams are disciplined. 49ers are disciplined with solid. Like, they're not giving you plays. Now what are you gonna do? And I think that's where they're at now. You got the point where Russ looks bad. He looks he looks young, and that's scary because you put it all on his plate. So I think what is the next move?
I don't know.
Unfortunately, you don't have it because the cap money. You spent money. You gave first-round picks for Jamal Adams, realizing, hey, we just spent all this money for a linebacker. Like you said, okay. I mean, borderline pass rusher. When I hear his highlights are pass rushes. So now what? I'm sorry.
I'm laughing at both y'all. They got real passion in NFC West real quick.
I didn't say not because look, I'm sitting here as a fan of a team without a quarterback. You have Russell freaking Wilson. You have Kyler freaking Murray. Bro, how is it this difficult? And the other two are playing with their hands that time beyond. Neither one of the other two teams can run their whole offense because they got Tweedledee and Tweedledum. They both can't.
Right.
You have nothing but freedom and creativity, and you out here like Lord forbid, like this is what it's gonna cost Seattle, right? Wags is getting up there in age, KJ Wright getting up there. I know you got the Brooks kid that's replaced one of them, whatever, man. Y'all starting to age out or whatever. The Rams, San Fran, and this is why I feel bad for the Cardinals, because you had opportunity to kind of jump in there real quick and take up some ground because the Cardinals and the Seahawks had an advantage over the other two because you have franchise quarterbacks. If the other two get anything remotely on the same level, you're stuck in purgatory in that division because they're able to beat you without them, and that's the scariest thing. Because if they get say Mac Jones fell in the Rams, get him in the second round. You know what that does for the Rams? They can run all this stuff.
Yeah, it changes a lot.
It's not Jared Goff anymore where he's like, just get some pressure. Okay, you ain't got to cover no more. He's gonna throw it into the dirt. Oh, he got an arm. Now Cooper Kupp about to have fun back there because you ain't got no corners.
Right. Yeah.
You know, like it gets interesting. But hey, that's on them. We got the Bucks taking on the football team. This was fun. This is another example of a team where, Washington's in a good place with their defensive line. I've seen this story before. But again, for Washington fans, I've been saying this all year. Y'all gonna hate me saying it, but here's the difference, and this is why I like Charles' defensive line is last year, and I was a fan of it. But there's levels to everything. Y'all don't have a front seven, you have a front four, and that's the problem. I'm cool with your secondary. I don't think it's that bad. I think it's a good secondary. You accidentally fell into two good young safeties, and Cam Curl and is it Everett? I forget who the other safeties Washington has, but you got a good secondary. You got a back end, you got a fearsome front end, and you got nothing in the middle of your defense in a passing league. You need to get that figured out. If you had two linebackers, you might have accidentally won the game 23-20. Because it's not like Tom was out here airing that. He wasn't bombing that thing away. You were getting pressure. All they were getting was stuff over the middle of the field and yak. That's it. That's all that happened. And even then, they dropped a bunch of passes because y'all was hitting out there. Y'all get some linebackers. I'm sure they figure out the quarterback thing too. That's another story for another day. But with Tampa Bay, I wish I could say I was impressed that they won or whatever. But this is who they've been all year. This is also why I'm kind of I'm indifferent to both them and the Saints, which we'll get to a little bit later. By the way they go about their businesses, that to me, you want to be a Super Bowl contender or whatever. And yeah, Washington, but again, this is you with a fully stocked and loaded offense. That game was too close to be playing a team with Tyler Heineke under center and an NFL defense without any NFL linebackers. Why was this game this close? But, hey, now my business. Go ahead, Rob. Not my all pro Fred.
I don't know, man. That game was kind of hard to watch, man, because Washington is such a bad team. Such a bad team, man. And there's no shot for Washington fans or nothing like that. Y'all know nobody in the NFC East really should have been in that playoff. Right. Completely honest, let's be real. But somebody had to go. Washington was the team to make it. They ended up playing Tyler. Is it Heineke or Heineke? Is it Heineke?
I think it's Heineke. But who knows?
Probably not going to know next year either. It's okay. But they had that guy under center, so I didn't expect much. But the fact that, like you said, they made that game close, I was perplexed. I'm trying to figure out what Tampa's doing. I'm going, y'all should be blowing them out. There's no way that this team really should be in the game with y'all. But these are professional teams, playoffs, and a lot of it has to do with coaching and the adjustments that are being made after watching film and things like that. And I'm assuming some adjustments were made because they made that game close. They saw some things and they said, "Hey, this will work here, that'll work there," and they made the game closer than what it should have been. I don't know. I don't know how I feel about Tampa just yet, though. I'm just not. I don't feel too strong about him. I know it's Tom, and I know he got hella weapons, but I think that's also a problem because he has so many weapons, and I don't think they have. I don't know if it's just me, but I don't feel like they have a real game plan.
Right.
I feel like they just out there. Everybody just out there like, man, hey, we just gonna line up and make them think about what we're gonna do.
Right. Yeah.
And then I need one of y'all to get on it. That's what I feel like the offense really is, But they got the win. They pulled it out. They did what they had to do. So let's see what they do in the second round. But I wasn't thoroughly impressed with what I saw out of Tampa. Though. That's just my personal opinion.
Nah, I'm with you on that, Rob. Like I feel like they play like it's your turn. Or Antonio's time. All right, your turn.
Yeah.
Or Evans, your turn. Like trying to basically like trying to hush people, feed egos or feed attitudes.
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
then like another thing with the Redskins, the football team, it kind of shows the whole, effort and talent, versus effort. Like Washington's not a really good football team, as you said, but they compete.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And the reason that game got what it got to is because as Heineke or whatever was figuring out what was happening, it gave the Bucks a chance to kind of like figure out also like, okay, they're getting stopped. But the talent kind of overplayed it. Okay, they, like you said, they should have been up more.
Yeah.
But Washington couldn't handle the business, so they kept giving the Bucks opportunities. Brady opportunities to take chances and work into the end zone. But if they're playing a good team, that doesn't work out, and that's our concern with them moving forward. Is what happens when you play great. Rodgers ain't giving you that many chances to figure it out. You keep giving Rodgers the ball back, you down 21-0. You give Mahomes chances, you're down. So. And then you play a team like the Saints this week. It's a different, again, the Saints are just like them, unfortunately. So, But I mean, you play a team that matches up with you talent-wise. You don't get that same opportunity to kind of feel your way around. And I think that's our issue. Been our issue all season with a team like Tampa is they just kind of like when you run into you're a bully, but when you run into someone who actually can match you talent-wise, but brings the effort. Now you're in trouble, and I think that's what we'll see moving forward if they're a real contender.
It's on you, Wilson.
Sorry, folks. You guys finished talking about Tampa? I had to take a break while you're talking about. I didn't want to hear none of that. Man. I'm not interested. Nothing to really talk about. You beat in the first round of a playoff. Sorry, Justin, but yeah, like. You did what you're supposed to do. Sorry, folks, if you're a Bucks fan watching. Well, 2013, the Ravens, and this might be one of the dumbest narratives to start 2021. That 24-year-old Lamar Jackson finally won a playoff game. What is wrong with you people?
I can't stand it.
Yeah.
I don't quite understand it. Are y'all aware that I don't know that Baker just won his first one? This is Baker's first time in the playoffs.
Well, there's a difference.
I mean, there is, and this is why it's stupid. If this was any other way around and one of his fellow classmates had already won an MVP, we wouldn't even be messing with him about the playoffs because he won an MVP. What are we doing?
Right.
Like, seriously? Yeah, y'all have the nerve to say anything like that. And some of his contemporaries, you were in much better places from again, I know I bag on Baker a lot, but is it are we going to really leave out the whole I don't know, Baker suddenly looks extremely competent and growing into his potential and what he could be once they got my new favorite offense, which does wonders for like a lot of different quarterbacks? Nah, Baker looks good. He looked good this year, but we can't act like Stefanski had and that new offense didn't have anything to do with it. We saw 2 years without Stefanski. He was like, I don't know why they took that dude #1. Get Stefanski in there. Y'all see Baker? Man, how about them Browns? the playoffs and stuff. The offense, there's a purpose to it. And what's that word y'all use for the Seahawks? Balance. Got one of the best freaking running backs in the league. And Stefanski was like, hey, let's give him the ball. I heard it. I heard good things happen. We also got Kareem Hunt. We can give him the ball too. Like, you can really do it. It's really crazy. You can split the carries and like do play action, and the defense comes up and like the windows are wide open and Baker looks confident and like
so much to do.
What are we doing, y'all? Like, cool. So I give Baker credit for executing, and that's what it should be. That was also a very good offensive line. They made some additions. Like, it's not like you should be pressured back there anyways. You should have all day. Again, an offense with a purpose and a scheme, which we were just talking about. Seattle doesn't have either of those things. And they're living just literally off talent. And there's not even a lack of talent on the perimeter in Cleveland either. They just didn't have a direction. Stefanski brought that via my favorite offense. Talk to Justin all the time. I call it the QB for dummies. Offense. It makes everything easier. Like, I'm not going to have you drop straight back and put you in harm's way. You might mess this up. We'll give you play action, some easy things. him. That's it. 1, 2, 3. It's almost all in a line for you, brother. Can't mess it up. When you look one way, you got all three options. That's it. If it looks confusing, throw it to me on the sideline. I'm also over here. It's really simple. And then we got the Titans, meanwhile, which Ryan Tannehill, bless his heart, found some stability late in his career, whatever, in a similar QB for dummy offense. What are we doing? And it's, how do we come out that game saying anything outside of, how the hell are you making $100 and something million? Ryan Tannehill, there's 11 people on the football field. There were 11 Ravens focused on Derrick Henry on every play. What did you do, sir? Where were you?
He did 18 for 26, 165 yards, touchdown, and 1 pick. That's what the hell he did.
Get your homework.
He had a game like he did. That's why they lost.
That's what I'm saying. Like, but that's a narrative we come away with, is that Lamar finally won one. If y'all don't go somewhere, seriously. Matter of fact, I don't know. Let's give Lamar AJ Brown and see what life looked like. Let's just throw that out there. Like, you throwing a Hollywood a little taller than me. Like, come on, man. Like, it's kind of tough out there. Secondly, like, isn't the job at quarterback or whatever, like, your job is to lead your team to victory, right? Why are we getting caught up in these stupid tropes that has to look one way? It's the stupidest thing in the world. So yeah, if his way of winning is his way and it worked, they advanced in the playoffs. I got to quote, Ryan Tannehill did it the right way, right? That was another L yet again. Really, really good running back, really, really good defense, yada, yada, L. Lamar just said, screw this. We literally saw this midway through the game. I ain't losing. And that was that. Defense rolled with him. And that was like, it doesn't have to be a certain way. And then, again, like, y'all got time and love for Josh Allen. I am old enough to remember all of you did not have this energy on Josh Allen 2 years ago. You ain't even had energy last year. Now, Stephon Diggs, offense makes sense. Daboll gets a little bit better. The scheme improves around Josh. They keep Josh. They kind of save Josh from Josh. Top 3 wide receiver go over there, and it's like, hey, you're always open. I can just throw to you. Like, oh my gosh, it's wonderful. Look, there's a couple of young running backs and stuff, so I don't got to do crazy stuff. And he still does crazy stuff, and y'all let it rock. What are we doing? There should be no narratives. Young quarterback, it should have just been like reigning MVP wins first career playoff game. That's it. It shouldn't be anything else. I don't know what else to tell y'all.
That's too easy. They want the story, and the story is that he finally got over the hump. He finally got, because he got the MVP, but that's the selfish thing to do. We need you to do the team thing. Exactly. That's the thought process of some of these people, and it's crazy because I'm going, wait a minute. You said how long has Lamar been in the league? Like, I don't. Y'all act like Lamar been in the league for. That's not okay. That's not okay. Who did that?
Dang.
I'm not mad at whoever just did that. I'm about to shut
Somebody
the whole stuff
commented.
down.
Yo,
Somebody commented.
I thought he was in the chat. I was like, where you
Look at
come?
this. It threw me out. Like, that, why is that? Just
Like,
watching it right now.
where he come from?
I
But
saw
nah,
it
man.
and I had to put it on screen. It's not my fault.
Yeah, that's not okay. But nah, man, the story with Lamar, man, and him finally getting over the hump and winning that playoff game, it's just like y'all act like he's been in the league for 10 years. Kid been in the league for what, 3 years? Or this is
Yeah.
year 3 for him?
Mm.
So what are we really talking about?
For him,
So
Baker, and Allen, I think, right?
I,
Same
yeah,
draft
yeah,
class,
yeah.
yeah.
Mhm.
And Darnold, same.
So
Yeah.
I'm gonna go past that, and I'm gonna go back to the game, and I'm gonna go back to what I saw. Now with Lamar, there are a couple things that I did see in game that, as a quarterback, yes, he needs to work on. But I'm not tripping because this is year 3. That's fine. You'll learn. He also needs some weapons. He got a couple, but he don't really have no weapons for real. You know what I'm saying? As far as receivers are concerned, they need to get that cleaned up. But on the other side of it, like you said, Tannehill, he didn't do nothing, and he got AJ Brown, probably one of the top 5 receivers in the game in the league right now. From what we saw this season, AJ Brown has been a dog, and you couldn't make it work with him. You couldn't figure it out. So I got more questions about what the hell going on with Tannehill in Tennessee than me talking about the kid finally got over the hump over in Baltimore. I'm happy for Lamar, man. I'm a Lamar Jackson fan. So I'm definitely happy to see that he finally got his first playoff win.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping they could build on it, man. Like you said, I think they need to get over that hump, kind of like we was talking about with Josh Allen. It's a good thing that they got over that hump, that first playoff win. Check all that stuff off. And so now you can move into round 2 a little bit more comfortable, and you could all right, I got that one under the belt, and now we just got to go out and play football. That's what it's about, man. And guess what? You're a weapon by yourself.
Mm.
They're gonna be, dude. If they game plan this right, Baltimore should be able to win this weekend. If they game plan this right, but I don't know how they're gonna do. I don't know what they got going on in their head as far as hardball. You know, the hardballs, they start tripping sometimes. So I don't know how it's gonna go, but if they game plan is right, they should win this weekend. But we'll talk about that when it comes down to it. The game itself was entertaining. It was a low scoring game. I thought it was gonna be a little bit more high scoring than that, but I'll take the win. Go ahead, Baltimore. I see you.
Justin.
Yeah, for me, like I feel like that first playoff win is, I mean, it's cool and all, but Lamar didn't make no tackles. Just like Lamar wasn't the one that couldn't tackle Derrick Henry last year. Like, I just think it kind of showed how limited Baltimore is offensively, because at some point this season, whether it was like late in the season, I'm gonna go back to maybe the Cleveland game when Lamar realized, like, this is on me. You know what I mean? You can't be he's the number one weapon, whether it's running, passing. He's their offense.
Yep.
And as good as it's weird about that game was, they didn't play a great game offensively. He just made Roman is the problem. But like Lamar is carrying his team. It's not so like if they lose this week, Lamar is not the problem. They're playing a better team this week. A better coach team. Which is sad to say because I think Harbaugh's a good coach, but the Bills' offense hasn't figured out to a degree. Whereas Lamar I told Wilson that's like I feel like Lamar has just decided I'm not going to let you embarrass me anymore. I'm going to figure out how to win this game. So if I see an opening, I'm running. If I don't like the play call, I'm going to make it happen anyway. Because like look at how that game started. It looked like Tennessee was going to blow them out. And Lamar still has room to improve, which you're supposed to in your third year. You know what I mean?
3 years.
And they were down 10-0, and I think that drive 10-0, Lamar threw a pass that could have got intercepted. But the difference was Lamar kept going and ended up scoring, and then the game changed. So I mean, it's just you got to give them the credit, the respect of him, and then that defense making the adjustments to get the stops because they went from down 10 to really not giving up much the rest of the game. And then when you look at Tennessee, it's like those first 2 drives, they looked unstoppable, but somehow this offense didn't struggle the rest of the game to score. I mean, somehow still the offensive coordinator got a job. Is going to be a head coach while other coaches aren't. But still, like, it comes down to you have to say this is Lamar is really running that team. You know, it's scary. Like you feel bad for him because the losses are his fault and the wins don't go to his credit, which is kind of sucks for him. You know what I mean? But you got to give him the respect and the credit of the work he put in. You know what I mean? He single-handedly he carried that team offensively because right now, no one respects the rest of those weapons.
No.
And I think that's as you walk into teams that Josh Allen has Diggs, knowing I can go here anytime I want. Lamar don't have that. And as much as I like Marquise Brown, but Marquise Brown has let Lamar down more times than he's helped him.
He's not that guy, right?
No. And then not to mention the coordinator. You're not playing to Lamar's strengths. Lamar is doing this right now. Like the issues Lamar had early in the season wasn't Lamar, it was Lamar trying to be a good citizen, you know what I mean? A good, follow. Hey, my coach called this, so I'm gonna do this. Even though I think this is a dumb call, you know what I mean? I think it's hit the point where, listen, I'm tired of people blaming me for everything. I'm gonna do what I got to do because that's what I'm capable of. And I think as you run into better teams, that only goes so far. You know what I mean? Like we're in the playoffs now, a Final Four of, a lot of people say the Bills and the Chiefs are two of the best teams in the league. How doing it my own way, can I get 30 points? Because that's what it's going to take to beat the Bills. You know what I mean? That's, whether it works or not, he knows I think he's just judging by the interviews, he's accepted the fact that if we lose, it's my fault. As unfair as that is. And I think he's fighting that. You know what I mean? He was so involved from the sideline, rooting for his defense and this and that. There was more to that game than the regular, hey, let's see what happens. He was like, if we lose this game, this goes on me only, and that's kind of sucks for him. But I'm happy he pulled that off, and I hope he just keeps playing well because he's showing that he's improving too. That's good for him.
Yeah, it's gonna be tough for him, man. Again, I've seen this story firsthand before. You win, the defense carried you. At least his defense at least done the job. There's this horrible. One of the greatest lies ever told was that that Niners defense during those 3 runs in the NFC Championship game were good in the postseason. I'll be the narrator. They weren't. Defense was trash in the postseason. Progressively got worse. Closer to the team got to the postseason. Every time. Really bad. Very bad. Just the quarterback that time, he got to the place Lamar just got to way quicker. Way quicker. Like, I'm good. These don't make sense. Bye. I'm out. And again, this is something Baltimore got to do too. Is like, no matter how this thing plays out, as this current season plays out, I'm going to off season. I'm coming back with a new offensive coordinator. I'm not about to be out here like this. Where, again, we're talking about some of the other type of play callers in the league. Whatever. You got a weapon like this. This thing ain't even operating at like 75% right now. You've made playoffs back-to-back years, and this nuclear weapon, man, the little power grid says like 47, 62. It ain't been above a 70 yet. Maybe here and there on a play, but nothing that you calls. So
yeah, like we said earlier, it's a lot of hope. Like you're going, like we talked about with Russ, is you look back on the big plays. It's Lamar doing something that it ain't called for him to run down the middle for 50 yards. Like you ain't designing to have a quarterback that's the fastest guy in the field. I show up that way. I don't need Greg Roman to tell me that Lamar's the fastest guy in the field. I know Lamar's the fastest guy in the field when I got there. So at the end of the day,
how else would you know without improving it in a critical moment in the game on a horrible kickoff?
Hey, Lamar, be fast. Like that ain't coaching. I think that's scary because you walk into Lamar is getting you a touchdown and a half per game. So if we end up with 2.5 touchdowns, what did I pay? What are we paying you for?
I'm still trying to figure that out.
Yeah.
So I mean, you all remember the episode of Fresh Prince when Will was he was playing basketball, he was doing all this like he was shooting Duncan playing defense like he scored 80 points, and I think they won 81-7 or something like that. That's what Lamar's doing right now.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it feels like. And the crazy thing is, it's not that he doesn't have like any type of weapons at all. He has some weapons that can be used. They're not being used properly. And yes, Brown has let him down a couple times, but that don't mean you go away from him. It just means that you need to. It's the repetition thing. You need to get back because he's a young kid too. He ain't. How long has he been in the league? Just a couple years, right?
Yeah.
So guess what? It's going to take time for that to develop, and that's a relationship that they could have been building on. But with this offensive coordinator, that's not happening, and that's probably because maybe, just maybe, they're not buying into that system.
Yeah.
They're not buying into the system because they're looking at it and they're going, "You want us to do what?"
Yeah.
Nah, man. Nah,
Like,
I'm gonna just run.
Yeah. Hey, why we keep giving the ball to Gus when J.K. Dobbins is a playmaker or whatever? Like it just like you said, it's more like a keep it simple, stupid type thing. Is that's the offense? Is hey,
Yes.
we can run up the middle and Lamar can make plays, but there's so much potential of don't ask Marquise Brown to be this possession specific receiver. Like there's things he does well. If you look at the things he's done well, and they fit well with the things Lamar does. But don't expect him to be this guy who's gonna run down and sit in the middle of the linebackers. That's not his game. And I think that's where the coordinator plays a part in it. And I think Lamar hit a point of it's okay if you suck at your job, but you making me look bad at my job. You know what I mean? I think you got to make some adjustments. That's
They're not adjusting.
They're not.
Hey, like we saw Brown do some positive things with the ball, and then we saw him get put into a position where we're going, that's not his strong suit. You can't make him do that. Make the adjustment so it works for what you have.
Right.
Simple, man. Sorry.
Yeah, asking for too much. All right. Saints, Bears. I have nothing. So Rob, this is all you.
Great.
Mute my mic. You got it.
All right. Okay.
Get up and walk away or something.
Here we go. All right. Had to put the hood on for this one. I got pissed. Not because the Bears lost, but because we made it to the playoffs and now we have the 20th pick in the draft. I am more pissed about that than I am about that game. Because in that game, what I saw was what I've been seeing all year long, which is Nagy calling plays again. That's number one. And you can't tell me he wasn't. Because when I looked at the stats, because I'm sitting there watching the game and I'm looking at the actual stats and I'm going, Montgomery. David Montgomery the ball once again. And I know what they're going to say, man, that defense had him paid. You gave him the ball 12 times, 13 times, something like that. He's the type of running back that needs a lather. You got to give him the ball 17 to 20 times for him to get going. We've seen it the last, 5 or 6 games, but they didn't do it. Okay, fine. So now you're running this offense. You don't have Mooney, and that's probably your best threat on the offensive side outside of Allen Robinson. And so they're going to try to do their best to lock up Allen Robinson, and now you got these other guys that need to show up in Anthony Miller and Javon Williams, and they didn't. Javon Williams dropped a wide open.
Yeah.
Mitch threw the best pass he's thrown in his football career. I'm talking about from Little League to high school to college to NFL. That's the best ball he's ever thrown. He's not going to throw that ball again. Dropped it right in the basket. Couldn't come up with it. And that score changed the game. The first half of the game was 7-3. 7-3. Okay, so the Bears weren't totally out of the game. Defense did enough. That is way too much to read. No, I'm not getting no more picks, man. Knock it off. And I'm getting there, man. I'm getting there. Hold on. So 7-3 first half of the game. 7-3 first half of the game. You go into the half, you come back out, and then you get worse. So I'm like, what are we doing? Like the defensive scheme It was horrible. Pagano, thank God that man decided to retire before they fired him because the Bears defense, there's no way you got all these guys on this side of the ball and you can't, they're out there confused. I feel like they didn't know what they were supposed to be doing. The week before you had Danny Trevathan chasing around Devontae Adams. What? Dude, corners can't even guard this guy. So you can put a linebacker on him? Pagano, I'm gonna kill him with this one. Watch out, down right, baby. No, you're not. You're not killing anybody, not fooling nobody. Drew Brees looked like he about 50, and he still made y'all look bad. We can't tackle, which that's going around the league right now, though. So I'm not too mad at that because it's not just us that can't tackle, but way too many plays that we miss tackles, jumping off sides, no discipline. I looked at that game. I started laughing at one point. I was like, oh, this is interesting. This is a great comedy show. This is great entertainment. If you need something to laugh at, turn the Bears on right now. Turn the Bears on right now. That's how bad that game was. The way that they operated was absolutely terrible. Good job, Saints. You did what you're supposed to do. Now, let's get to this earlier this week. We still got Nagy. We still got Pace. Mitch is still on the roster right now. I don't know what they're going to do with him. I know you're a free agent, but I have a feeling that we might just bring him back. Yeah. Why not? Why would they not do that? That's what makes sense in the Bears' mind. You know what I mean? What I'm seeing, man, this is where I was with the Bulls about 2 years ago. 2 years ago. Wilson, don't mute your microphone now. This is what I seen with the Bulls about 2 years ago, where the front office, they kind of they jacked things up so bad to where it was hard to watch any game because you're looking at all the options that you have out there, all the things that you are able to do, and you're not doing any of them. You know what I mean? What does he say? Nagy and Pace, run it back. Yes, they're going to run it back. They're absolutely going to run it back. You know why? Because we have no cap to do anything. We can't do nothing. Dude, we're so bad, so hemmed up on the cap space. There's nothing for us to do. We have no choice but to run it back. So we're gonna see this same old 8-18 once again next year. And then once I heard that press conference, everything I heard George McCaskey say and Ted Phillips say was, and my cousin said it best. He said, "Shut up and take this 7-9. Congratulations, bear down." That's where we at right now. So I'm wearing black all football season next year when the Bears play, baby. That's what we doing. Ain't no orange or blue right now. Everything is all black. I'm very, very irritated. Not with that game, because that game is a product of what we had. That's just what we've been seeing all year long. So it wasn't surprising. Any Bears fan that thought it was going to be a different outcome, you tripping. You tripping. You smoking something. You drinking something. I don't know what you're doing, but you tripping. That outcome is going to be exactly what it was. That's exactly what we've seen all year long. Period. But where's the real change going to come later on down the line? That's the question. All right, I'm done.
Well,
Justin,
you handled it beautifully.
No, I didn't. You ain't got to coach. No, I didn't.
But I mean, you know what? The main thing that hit me, like you said, was it's a different game if Wims catches that ball. I'm not saying you win, but who knows? It's just, the Saints were struggling, and you had them in a position where you could have made. Who knows what happens at that situation? But what I've really put it on watching it is, and again, I know how you feel about Mitch. I know all Bears fans feel about Mitch, but you don't go to a playoff game and you tied his hands. You went in that playoff game and okay, we're gonna run on first down against a stacked box. Okay, 2nd and 9 or 2nd and 11. Okay, throw a short pass, screen, or maybe run again. Okay, now it's 3rd and 8. That's not his game. That's what got you the wins. The wins you got against them bad teams early. You let him play a little bit. And again, I'm not saying he's a good quarterback, because he's not. But you put a bad quarterback in 3rd and 8. You put a good quarterback in 3rd and 8. What's gonna happen? They just played way too safe, and that defense fought. I mean, I'm not saying they made some mistakes defensively, but they fought because you was in that game till mid to late third quarter. And you're sitting there. I'm sitting there watching and thinking, hey, Mitch makes one play. you put some real pressure on the Saints because the Saints weren't playing well. And I mean, it felt like same old Saints, but unfortunately, it was playing the same old Bears. You know what I mean? And again, a lot of that goes on the coach offensively because you never threatened them. You never put a real threat on them to make the Saints work defensively. And I think that's the biggest issue because I think Drew would have made a mistake if you put them in a position where, okay, they for some reason the Saints don't want to use Kamara to his full ability. You know what I mean? If you score a touchdown and make them have to throw the ball, and Drew could throw the ball 20 yards right now, you got a chance to make a play. I think there was a play where somebody dropped an interception for the Bears. You know, I think we had a chance at a pick six. I mean, we're working. It changes the game. You got to make those plays, especially when you're not playing well offensively. You know,
Keep in mind, that has happened the last 3 or 4 weeks where the Bears have had opportunities on defense to grab a pick and possibly take it back to the house, and they've dropped it. So that also is not anything new. But when you're doing it up in the playoffs against a quarterback like Drew Brees, you got to capitalize on those opportunities because, unfortunately, just similar to Aaron Rodgers, he's not going to continue to give you opportunities. He's going to look at the mistake he made and go, not going to do that again. Got to fix that.
Yeah.
Got to make an adjustment.
But I'm not even going to give Drew the credit. I'm going to give you guys the opposite of credit of saying you weren't going to allow Mitch to make the play. Like, when it came time for Mitch to throw an interception, there's not a person in the world that didn't know he was going to throw an interception. Because why wouldn't he? Like, when it was a chance to make plays early, you didn't let him do it. Okay, screen. Hey, make a big play. Why? Like, that was the situation was the guy had been playing decent football, whatever we know the competition. But to ask a guy to do nothing and then, hey, see if you can force the ball into Allen Robinson. Yeah. Like, this is who he is. Unfortunately, this is who he is. He's your starting quarterback. So you never really threatened the Saints. The Saints was willing to give you that game. You know what I mean? You put up 10 points. You weren't able to, or there was a fourth down early where you could have went for it, or different situations where you had a chance to win to really put some pressure on them. Because, like I said, I think the Saints wanted to fold. You know, they wanted to fold, and you didn't let them. You didn't give them an opportunity to put the pressure on them for them to show their true colors because your coach played scared. And I think that was the thing you guys didn't realize. They were playing with the house. Was it house cards or the house card? Like, no one expected nothing from house money. No one expected nothing from the Bears. Let the guy that reverse pass. I think that play with Wims was so huge because you walk in a situation where Mitch, that was the best. Like you said, that was the best throw Mitch has made. I mean, my wife ran in and checked on me after that pass because I was like yelled. I'm like, oh, like I couldn't believe he dropped that ball. So I mean, like I said, I don't know. I mean, that was a big situation for y'all, man.
Yeah, it was definitely tough, man. But we're gonna see what they do in the offseason and all that, man. But yeah, I just wasn't the happiest or whatever. So yeah, it's what it is.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, Rob. I know you gotta go. We'll get at you later. Justin, we'll just finish this up. I think the last thing we had from Wild Card Weekend was Browns Steelers. Yeah, I mean, I would love to say I was super shocked by this. Really wasn't. I hadn't really bought into the Steelers at any point this season. I know some people did, but they were another one of those teams with a really old quarterback that you weren't allowed to say was old at all. And you know, and this is one of the things we found out, like all edge rushers, like again, it's cliche or whatever, but like there's levels of everything. This is not a knock on TJ Watt in the least bit, but clearly some Steelers fans, you found out the value of Bud Dupree in his absence. Like, it wasn't the same without having somebody. Obviously, I'm not saying he's on the same level as TJ, whatever, but he just having an actual threat opposite TJ played a big role in how the defense performed, how TJ performed, how people went about dealing with TJ because you had to still deal with, Bud to make you pay. You take that threat away, and then that kind of shows you the type of level that your top guy is when the opposite side is gone or non-existent, which is essentially what it was. I couldn't even tell you who lined opposite CJ. But I know
Yeah.
it wasn't the same once Bud got hurt. Like we knew that off the early. Their offense never found balance. And give the Steelers credit, they've always kind of been balanced to a degree when they've been good, and they never really found it. I don't understand how and they had Anthony McFarland, and I never understood how they really continued to not really get him going. I thought that was a missed opportunity this year because the kid that could help in so many different ways offensively. So I mean, I don't know, but they got some decisions to make, some things to go through. But yeah, for the Browns, it worked out right time. I know their head coach wasn't there, on the field because COVID testing and whatnot. But you get out to a start like that. I was happy that they finished the job just because of their history. Get out to a start like that. I was tweeting some of my Browns friends. They were like, "Can't be happy yet, can't be happy yet," which is that sucks to have that in the back of your head the whole time. You're like,
Yeah.
you're up 8-0 at first, and like you're like, I can't be happy yet. But it was good for them. Obviously, it's a different type of test next week. But your thoughts on the Browns beating the Steelers 48-37?
Well, like you said, I think it was more. As much as you want to give the Browns credit, I feel like the Steelers really tried to lose that game. Like early, they kind of put themselves in a huge hole. You know what I mean? And you got to give the Browns credit for taking advantage of it. And like we said with the Steelers, it was just like they got off to that great start, and it's kind of just they never really put it together. Like
Yep.
you're saying, I think they kind of relied on the pass and they relied on that defense, and then as things fell apart, they never tried to fix it. They just assumed it would just work itself out, and a guy like you said, a guy like McFarland was, why not take a chance? You needed something to change a playmaker, someone that can make a play. We knew what Connor was, and it was, off. It just the line, everything just became real stale. You ran out of gas. The quarterback never really was playing well, and I mean, he actually ended up playing a halfway decent game. When he was able to freestyle a little bit and do his thing. Kind of just spread the ball around. But I mean, I think hopefully they look at this as a chance to say they do have talent on this team and say, bring in someone else and see what happens. And defensively, as you were saying about Watt, was you don't realize the importance of the guy who pushes the pocket. The guy that makes the chase down plays, he gets the numbers. But a guy like Dupree who plays his role and pushes the pocket and might only get he might end up with 6 to 8 sacks. And we're looking at the guy with the 15, not realizing how important the other guy is. And I think that kind of shows with Watt. Like, and again, Watt, not to take away from how good of a player Watt is. Maybe, one of the better players in the league, but the other player is important, and I think you don't give the credit to a guy like Dupree, and I think that showed as the season went on. And then, you got credit to the Browns for pulling that game out. As sad as it sounds, like you were saying, the Browns know they know their team. So as you were saying, how you not gonna it was 28-0. But we're one play here or there, a fourth down play from they could have lost that game. And I was watching, I'm like, is this happening? And it really was. If the Steelers went for on that fourth down, it's a real game. And moving forward, I think, we want to be careful with Brady. I mean, I'm sorry, Brady. What's his name? Baker. I mean, he played well, but understanding, okay, what happened was he got put into his actual position of, okay, we're a running team. We have we have a really good running back. Okay, and let's make sure we have 2 really good running backs. You know what I mean? So you might not even be the number 2 weapon, which is okay. So make your throws when they're there, and he made some big plays. But understanding that Chubb and Hunt are the engine behind that team, and the offensive line's gotten better. So I think when you walk into this game this week, don't expect to walk in there and have a shootout. You know what I mean? Like, you need to play your game and run this ball and, do what you do. But Baker as long as Baker plays his role and they rely on Chubb and rely on Hunt and the offensive line, and I think that's been the biggest change for them. And we got to give Stefanski credit for taking the ball out of Baker's hands. And saying, hey, we're a running team and we're gonna bootleg, we're gonna play action, and that's what you're gonna do. And he's done well accepting that. And I think that's a big thing. But let's not get carried away and saying this is he's proven himself as a number one overall pick and all that. And they pulled it out, and now maybe that division gets interesting between them, the Ravens, and the Steelers moving forward. So that's pretty much it.
No, I'm with you on that. It was just, and again, credit to Baker for not letting the ego get in the way of just, of trying to force it and make it about you and do what your team asks you to do. And for them, that's the recipe. When you get the third and manageable, move the chains. Mm-hmm. That's your job. Get a third and manageable, move the chains. God forbid a third and long, take what's there, make a play. Don't ever force anything. You got to get defense. You were missing players. You got a playoff win this week.
Right.
And it's imperative when you play Kansas City that you don't get into the shootout thing with them.
Right.
Or at least if you end up with the shootout thing, make sure you got yourself some cushion.
Right.
Like last week when you jumped out, but you had like that little moment. Chiefs offense with that little bit of moment, they can make up ground. That's not the Steelers. They're what the Steelers pretend like I think they are passing wise. They're the actual legitimate, like, one pass, drive over. So, I mean, it'll be fun. It should be a fun matchup, with that one. But we might as well start with that. They're taking on the Chiefs next week. And obviously, you're gonna need Myles Garrett to have a huge game. And more importantly, Cleveland's going to need their linebackers to really help out the back end. Like that defense on all three levels, you guys have to be on the same page because Chiefs, again, they can get theirs however you ask them to get it. It could be slow, methodical drives. They also have the ability to hand that thing off and play that way and play action or whatever. But that's like, I love what you said. The biggest thing is Cleveland, play your game and that's it. And don't give them ever like extra opportunities, but play your game. Like make them, regardless of what they do, play it on your terms, and you'll be fine. The worst thing you could do is try to outscore them or try to outthink it. Just play your game. What will be, and you'll be fine. Just don't turn the ball over.
Right.
Regardless of what happens, just don't turn it over because the Chiefs have lows too. Like we've seen them get off they'll score 30 and then go idle for like a quarter and a half. And then, go back into it. But if you're steady the entire time, it gives you a fighting chance.
Right.
Your thoughts on that matchup?
Like you were saying, I think the biggest thing is just maximizing each drive. Like, it's not playing slow. It's not playing fast. Like, it's a perfect matchup for them because your strengths are running the ball. So you don't have to try to eat clock. You just have to try to play. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you can run Chubb. You can run Hunt. And you can pick up decent chunks. But try to maximize each drive, whether it ends up in preferably a touchdown, but field goal. But like, I think that's the thing is not, people try to say, hey, keep them off the field. But if you keep them off the field and you ain't scoring, it really don't matter. So I think the Browns' game of, hitting them with the run and some play action and just constantly moving the ball. And the thing with the Chiefs is they've proven to be impatient at times. I think if that's the thing is if you can keep them off the field and score, that's different than keeping them off the field and then giving them the ball and it's still 0-0. You know what I mean? If you can keep them off the field and now they're down, maybe you get Mahomes to take some shots that he shouldn't take. And again, the Chiefs haven't been pressed the way that you would expect a team to be. And I think they might prove you wrong, but they have that championship swagger, but that championship confidence, but someone has to really push them. I don't think we've seen the best of them yet. But if you keep pushing them and like they have that one bad quarter, maybe you got to get 14. You can't let them hang around, as we've seen some games this year where teams let them hang around and then they walk you down. I think that's the thing is just to stay on them defensively. And maybe you get a play from Garrett, where Mahomes tries to do too much and Garrett, you get a strip sack or you get an interception and it just stay on them because the Browns have the things offensively to make it work. You have Denzel Ward comes back this week. So, I mean, that's a defensive back who can actually, I'm not going to say he can stop Tyreek Hill, but he's the type of guy that can run with them and make them work a little bit. And I think that's the thing is limit the big plays on defense and then offensively just play your game, run the ball, get first downs and, stay on the field on convert your third downs. And I think that'll be a big thing because it's going to take 30 points at least, maybe 35 to 40 to win this game. And then defensively, maybe you work up a good cushion and then hold them off late.
Oh, but like you said, you got to be efficient with your use of the drives. You need something out of every drive.
Right.
Something. Because they don't always need 10 plays to get
Right.
6.
When they figure you out, that's the avalanche is coming, and I think that's the scary thing.
Yeah, like you said, they haven't been pressed. Like they haven't really. There's not one moment this year where I was like, all right, there the Chiefs are. We just seen what Spurs they've just been coasting and getting away with it.
Right.
And like you said, the time where they should pay for it, the opponent never really makes them pay for it. They're like, might as well go ahead and win this game since clearly they don't want to.
Right.
All right, the other game we got, the other divisional matchup we got on Sunday, it's gonna be the Buccaneers and the Saints. You can take this one.
Yeah. These are the two teams we got the least confidence in, and I mean,
someone got to win. Man.
The Bucs should be so the Bucs should be so much better, man. I just again, me and Rob talked about. I think you were out earlier. Was how it's more like it's a okay. Let's it's Gronk's turn. Hey, let's get Antonio the ball. Hey, Evans ain't touched the ball in a while, as opposed to putting together a system of they don't really pick you apart. Because I mean that's what, in my opinion, that's what Brady's known for. Brady picks you apart. I've never felt like the Bucs have picked teams apart this year. It was more like them trying to get somebody the ball, you know what I mean, or running specific plays as opposed to actually playing an offense. You know what I mean? I think Ronald Jones is a really good running back. I think each one of their weapons individually is a good player, and the offensive line's been well. Like I said, I just think they haven't put it together, and I don't think you just start putting together now. You know what I mean? I think Arians and Brady haven't been the combination we had hoped they would. And the Saints, they should really aren't. They're not an explosive offense. So I mean, if you would think 28 to 30 points would be enough for the Bucs, but they haven't proven they can do that against good teams yet. You know, we know even with Washington, we know Brady don't like getting touched. Brady's not the same player when he's getting hit. And the Saints defense has had some good games this year. So I think that's where it's going to be an interesting game. And I mean, I just got to say, I don't trust Breeze, you know, and they haven't used Kamara the way they should. So I think I'm going to lean towards the Bucs only off the strength of there's enough weapons that, you know, one of those guys is going to make a play. And I think that's all I can go off.
Yeah, now I'm with you. I think the biggest thing to me in this one is who's going to trust their run game more.
Right.
Like you said, you got Ronald Jones, you got Garrett Blunt. Oh, not LeGarrette Blunt. Oh boy.
Same thing.
I'm sorry, Leonard Fournette. Leonard Fournette and Ronald Jones. I mean, another thing with the Saints is like, and it's sad, but I don't even trust them to feed Kamara enough to make this easier, like to get this done earlier. Like in my mind, conventionally, another team that had the services of Alvin Kamara is just 25, 30 touches and we go home.
Yeah. Yep.
25, 30 touches, we out of here. I'm penciling you down. Like in my mind, you can at least 20 carries, maybe 5 to 7 targets. We're out of here. Like this is gonna ruin your linebackers can't deal with all of this. Like I'm gonna force you to deal with Alvin Kamara. And then the other stuff, I get to pick and isolate things. But it was crazy, the year we saw when he went nuts with a 6 or 7 touchdown game. That was the first time in his career he had 20-something carries, 20s in a game. Like, that's absurd. You got way worse running backs getting 25 at times, and you have something like that. And, like, perfect example, like, we saw the Chiefs. They had Clyde Edwards-Helaire, and so the kid got hurt. There wasn't a cap on how many different ways he could get the ball or his touches. They were like, cool. If you're scared of Tyreek and them, I guess no one's here to deal with the kid out the backfield.
Yeah.
You got a whole Alvin Kamara. And like, that's the thing I don't trust them to do. Like, and that's always been my knock with Sean Payton sometimes, is they just get away from the run so much and they always have solid running backs. Right. It literally makes no sense. Like,
yeah.
You got Kamara, you got Latavius Murray, you got a really good tight end. You shouldn't even have to put that much on Breeze yet, and still we find a way every other game to be like, oh, we got to throw downfield. Why?
Right.
You know, it should be easy, but like you said, it'll probably be extra dramatic for some unnecessary reason. Again, this is the 20+ touch game for Kamara, and I go home. I'm in the next round, and I'm waiting. And this is not a knock.
If you promise me 25 touches to Kamara and 5 to 7 to Thomas, we're not having this conversation. You know, it's they're walking into the, you know, they're playing in the play. They're moving to the championship game, but
Yeah,
they
they
haven't
stay
proven
at
it this
home and
year.
wait. Yeah, and that's it. And that's the like I said, like I guess we're on the same place. Like that's just the trust issue I have with them is because if they would just do what's right or take advantage of what you have or not be so focused on doing it a certain way. Like there's no reason. Like you could imagine what the Saints record looks like if they took the Baker approach that Cleveland has,
right,
with the type of running back they have. Like you'd be eating. Like at the end of the day, when you go play action, it's Michael freaking Thomas.
Right.
It's Jared Cook. Like, what are we doing? And even when you want to go empty, like that's advantage you almost every week.
Right.
It just doesn't make sense. All right, on to the Saturday games. We got the 4:35 matchup, Rams Packers. That should be fun. Feel like the Packers are always playing somebody out the NFC West every year they make the playoffs. I know they're sick of every team out there in that group already. Obviously, we got some, the biggest matchup in this one. I mean, we got Jalen, we got Devontae Adams. It's should be fun automatically. So we get to see the best of the best in that regard, go up against each other, and then the rest of the way, the Packers I know the Packers, they got some really good linemen. I know they're missing some as well, but I think it's Elton Jenkins. He's been really good. He plays like 17 positions across that offensive line for them, which is, I don't know how he didn't make All-Pro. I'm sure somebody used it as a technicality on him that he didn't play enough at a certain spot, play enough snaps at a certain spot, even though I'm sure he played excess of 500 to 600 snaps this year. I mean, it's the same thing as always with the Rams, man. You got to slow down Aaron Donald. It's not only him. Shout out to the reemergence of Leonard Floyd. He's been used for the Rams this year. The light, I guess, never fully came on for the Bears, but the Rams always it's like they have a formula. They have Aaron Donald, and they're just like, hey, who's a former first-round edge rusher who just didn't live up to their billing? Come on down.
Right.
And they just get right. So that's going to be fun just watching, I think Brandon Staley, that's the Rams defensive coordinator. Him going to try to stop an offense that's very similar and familiar to them. It's not exactly the same as, what they see when they play San Fran or even what they see in practice. But it's very similar. So that's going to be a fun part there because even with Green Bay, you're familiar with that offense. So this game is literally just about execution. For me, it's literally just execution because you're both running very close to the same things offensively. You got some different pieces, and then defensively, just about what you can take away and what you can't. And we know with the Rams, like especially with Goff, if he's the one playing, like you get any pressure, interior pressure on him, things kind of get dicey for him in the pocket. And then, for the Packers, is can Aaron kind of keep his cool and trust the system? For me, just like don't go play, don't be a superhero all the time. You don't have to. Like if pressed, maybe, but you don't have to. Just trust the system, especially like this is why this system's in place, because a game like this, you could literally go all day without messing with Jalen Ramsey. Will you? Probably not, but you could. But your thoughts on this one?
Yeah. I think what's funny is I was like so locked in on the Packers being the best team in the NFC. And as the more you spoke, I just really started to think, the Rams might have the answers, but it's just that offense. Like, I feel like defensively, the Rams are a good matchup because they know what they're facing.
Mm-hmm.
But I think Adams can give Ramsey some problems, not some problems, just this is the group that's not going to be scared of him. Whether it's Rodgers throwing the ball and Adams, you're not going to press Adams and get hands on him early. So I think Adams is going to get open a little bit, and Rodgers isn't scared to throw on anybody. And then it's just I don't know what the Rams are going to do offensively. I think we've known the Packers to be a little soft defensively. So I mean, can they feed Akers, and can Akers can Akers run the ball on him? And I think that's what kind of got me a little bit the more I thought about it, I'm like, man, can they just beat him up, take the game out of Goff's hands?
Are you about to accuse me of making you pivot again?
Yeah,
I feel like the
I know. Where's Rob at? Yeah, I know, like that's all. I was locked in on Packers, and as you were talking, I'm like, yeah, I can see that. Yep. And then I'm like, well, I'm not putting the game on Valdez, Scantling, and Lazard and whoever the tight end that's decent.
Tunyon could be a big piece though.
Yeah, tight end, and so I'm going Packers just off the strength of whether it's Tanya making a play and Aaron Jones and there's gonna be a play. Rodgers gonna make a play. I think the biggest thing, like we've talked about most of the year, was this isn't that Rodgers. We've seen the Rodgers that's kind of abandoned the system and gone his own way and had some issues like last year against the 49ers. I think he's bought into the system a little bit, and he's going to allow that system to kind of carry him. And when it's time, he's going to go to Adams.
Yep.
And Adams isn't that, no disrespect to DK or any other guy, but Adams Adams can be a kryptonite to a guy like Ramsey, which we know, the quick start type stuff, and he's not gonna off the line of scrimmage, the basketball moves like we talk about. He's, I think Adams is that guy. So I think, and then if you can get a lead, you put the game on Goff's shoulders, and we know where that goes. I think that's the thing with the Rams with the Packers is, if you can make it a pass, make the other team have to pass, you're playing to their strengths. But when you can bully them at the line of scrimmage, that's where you have the problems. And I think with Donald being somewhat injured and Ramsey not being so much of, they're not going to be scared of Ramsey, which plays to the strengths of those other guys. I think that's the thing that gives the Packers, for me, working back to my opinion, is I think the Packers will give the Packers the win.
No, I'm with you, and that's the thing. If you're the Packers, if you go down early, you feel comfortable. You have Aaron Rodgers. Rams go down early, things get interesting. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's like you said. There's one thing we don't want to do, and that's tell Jared to go toe to toe with Aaron. No one is signing up for this. But like you said, that's gonna be the tough part too, because Devontae release game is ridiculous. I'm just interested to see how Jalen even approaches dealing with him, and they move him around and everything else, and. Still even with that, like we've seen them move Jalen around too. He's allowed to follow and things like that. His supporting cast out of the corners out of there, they're not bad. But again, it's just gonna be execution for me. I don't trust either group safeties, and it's gonna be huge in this game coming off play action.
Right.
With all the different window dressing and the ghost motions, and they're both gonna be doing it like. The safety play is pivotal in this one. Even coming down and making plays in the box with in the run game for both groups, it's gonna be big. And yeah, I'm with you. It should be interesting. Last but not least, I know there's gonna be Bill has some big crazy thing. I'm sure we're gonna see a whole bunch of crazy, wild out the box tweets about this matchup because America. We got the Rams taking on the Buffalo Bills. The Ravens taking on the Buffalo Bills. And, it's going to be a tough one right here because, the Bills offensively, there's a lot of firepower. And at the same time, the other thing, they're going to have to deal with is just with Wink over there with Baltimore. I'm interested to see how he plays this. Like, do you spaz out and be like, hey, we sending people every play? Or do you kind of trust them? Like, you got some decent corners back there too, but that's Stephon Diggs at the same time. Like, do you, or like, I'm interested in this other thing for Buffalo too. The other guys got to step up because I think with one of the Ravens adjustments, then they pretty much just double AJ with Corey Davis being out and was like, I'm not worried about anybody else doing anything. And, this one, if it's me, I'd probably do the same thing, something similar, and tell John Brown and company like, yeah, y'all gonna have to beat me.
Right.
Put somebody underneath Diggs and somebody over the top, and that's that. But again, they're able to run the ball. They got a good offensive line. Josh Allen. Pretty much, I don't know in this one. I like the Bills. Like, I trust their offensive system more than I trust Baltimore. Like, there's a purpose, there's a vision, there's adjustments that are made. So I guess I'm going to the Bills because Brian Daboll, I have more faith in Daboll than I do Roman.
Right.
With in terms of who's going to be able to who's going to put their gifted quarterback in the best situation.
Right. Yeah. No, I I was thinking the same as you were saying. I'm like, whether we feel like Allen's better or than Lamar or the other way around, it doesn't matter because I don't think the Bills aren't really a running team, but I just feel like the strength of Diggs is better than any receiver on Baltimore, and Daboll has the advantage offensively. And then it's like, okay, you can't put Peters on Diggs because Peters is too much of a gambler. So it comes down to, are you put Humphrey on him, or do you put Humphrey with help? And I think that's, but again, it comes down to Daboll, and I think Daboll and Allen making, some second reaction, second reaction plays, or whatever you call it. And what are you asking Lamar to do? And I think that's what comes down to. You're putting a lot on his shoulders. So it's not going to be, whether they win or lose, isn't going to be based off of him. It's going to be of, what does the defense do? Can they get the running game going? Like that type of thing. And can they create some big plays, schemed big plays, not him doing too much? I think, and that's what it comes down to. And unfortunately, the confidence comes down to what the Bills have going as a system. And the Bills have a lot of energy right now, whether it's, as a team and as they just got a good thing going right now. And the Ravens were inches from self-destructing early in the year, not even early in the year, late in the year. They were inches from self-destructing, and the MVP put on his shoulders. Whatever you want to say, the former MVP, he put on his shoulders, and he got this thing fixed. So I think the confidence is there, but I just don't trust the staff enough to do what it takes to win this game against a team that's really playing good ball right now. So I mean, I got to go with the Bills.
Yeah, and like you said, that's the biggest thing is I'm not getting into that who's better or whatever. Somebody got a better situation than the other in terms of structure. Right. And it's just that simple for me. I'm not talking about head coach or whatever, just strictly the play caller and the structure of the offense. Somebody's system makes sense. Somebody's system, we're still waiting.
Right. Someone's playing to their quarterback strengths.
Yep.
Someone's playing. Yep.
And that's what we've seen. Like that was the biggest difference between last year with Josh, first year with Josh, is they have a clear picture and plan of how to get the most out of them. And then you sprinkle in Stephon Diggs there, and that makes everything that much clearer. Where with Baltimore, like the whole passing game is not a clear picture. It's the structure's not really there. Like we understand that they can't run the ball, but even then, it's there's nothing that's definitive in terms of like there's a staple of what they do. The only thing you can count on is that they got Lamar and the other team doesn't. Like that's the only thing you can count on offensively, which I guess what you were saying earlier, like the thing with the wish thing, and it comes up way too much for Baltimore on the offensive end, like way too much. All right, before we get off here, I just want to go through some folks that got hired. Brad Holmes hired to be new GM of the Detroit Lions. This is a black man becoming a GM. This is the second one the Detroit Lions have had. They had Martin Mayhew several years ago. Urban Meyer is the head coach of the Jacksonville Jaguars. We got George Patton is the new GM of the Denver Broncos. Away fired and promoting himself. Gotta love that. We got Gus Bradley's the new defense coordinator of the Raiders. Your thoughts on this one real quick? I ain't even going back to it.
Nah. It's a move. It's a move.
That's all we get from you.
For me, I just feel like the league's going in a different direction, right? And they went in the opposite direction. I feel like there's a way to scheme around a lack of talent defensively. This isn't the way. Like this doesn't. You don't have a fit. You don't have a team. Like you don't have defensively. You're paying 2 linebackers and a defensive end. That's it. And whatever you want to say, Trayvon Diggs is part of the future, whatever. But this isn't a move for me. Like I just feel like, again, this is a move of, this is a name that has done something and that is known for something. I just feel like when you're making this move as a team like that, you're not. If you're Jacksonville, it's a different move than if it's Dallas because you have the money to go fill in draft picks to fill needs. When you're Dallas, you have what you have. You know what I mean? Especially they know if they're paying their quarterback, which means they have no money. So I think for them it was like, okay, this is what we have. How do we get more out of Jalen Smith? How do we get more out of Van Der Esch? How do we get more out of our what's his name, defensive Lawrence? How do we make Diggs better? Like that type of thing. I think that was the move. That's what they should have thought of. And I never feel that way with them, that's their thought process. And that's what bothers me with them is it's like, hey, Dan Quinn's won a Super Bowl. You know what I mean? Or Dan Quinn's won a Super Bowl as a defensive coordinator and has made the Super Bowl with this, as opposed to, the guys that are having the most success besides Belichick are teams bringing in the younger guys and who are actually attacking the new age football. Because even if Dan Quinn was a great defensive coordinator at Seattle, who's running those offenses now? you know what I mean? Like that's my problem.
No one.
Right.
Maybe
go find
only
a college kid. Us, yeah. So he could stop the Dallas offense in practice.
But all jokes aside, you're right. That's why it's just interesting. Just watching these hires play out, period, has been extremely interesting. We got Robert Saleh. He went from defense coordinator to the Niners, head coach of the New York Jets. That was a good hire for the Jets. I know Quentin Williams, those boys up front, New York are definitely happy. Some of the things people were saying about just period, some of the stuff they have talent on that end of the ball, on that side of the ball. Now you're going to get a clearer picture, a clearer direction. You got some cap space. And, you're going to be able to bring in some of the folks that just played for him from his last stop. Because there's going to be folks leaving and you got cap room. So I wouldn't be shocked to see some, I wouldn't be shocked if Uncle Sherm finds his way over there to, play a season or two more before he joins the staff. Things of that nature. I know they're bringing Mike LaFleur over there, supposedly. Wait for it. I don't know if it's confirmed or not. For him to be the OC over there. So again, it's gonna be yet another place running that type of offense, which is why it's gonna be interesting to see what they do with Sam Darnold. Schefter reported earlier. There's a lot of time between now and the draft that they could keep Sam because again, it's the easy offense. To kind of find out if we saw what it did for Baker, we see what it did for Kirk, others, and players around the league. So it doesn't make sense to throw Sam out the window yet. Give him a year to figure out. Dude's 23. Give him a year with some actual coaching offensively with some clear pictures and things of that nature. Maybe get some weapons, and if it doesn't work out, you're right back next year. And hey, I need a quarterback.
Right, but also like you said with him it was more impressive this season. And even more so than the Super Bowl season was because he was doing it with so many spare parts. And I think if you're a team like the Jets, you're looking at, okay, yeah, man, we could have did that if we had Bosa and Sherman and this and that. But when you watch the fact that they were one of the best defenses in the league this year with, just a revolving door of players at every position, and just the love the players seem to have for that guy. For Salah, that speaks a lot for him as a person, as a man, and whatever. So I think that's what the Jets should be looking for, or should be looking at, and something they should be happy about because, like you said, no matter what we think of the Jets, they competed late in the year. A team with no wins could have had 3-4 wins, and I think that he walks in that situation, and if the respect they should have for him, they could turn it around pretty quick. If they can get the offense fixed.
Nah, you're definitely right. And the other thing, some of the things you can bring over, you already got Marcus May over there. You had some like a Jaquiski Tart where you come in, plug and play. Right. And instead of it being a situation where, like San Fran brought in like Malcolm Smith and folks like that, but they were kind of past their prime or coming off injuries or whatever, like Jaquiski's young enough where he can play immediately and still help teach. Like you can get immediate impact from it. So, I'm just looking over there. I'm like, there's weapons in the front seven. Folks like Terrell Basham, probably instead of playing linebacker, bro, welcome. Get to come off the edge, line up on the edge, and again, it's not like, at least in my mind, it's just retooling what you have because you're going from a 3-4 probably to a 4-3 now, and it's some of the stuff's gonna even fit better. Honestly,
wouldn't be surprised if Quentin Williams turns into all pro, a Pro Bowler, all pro.
Well, he tweeted ASAP. He was happy. I know he has to be.
Right.
Because like you said, you get instead of going from a 3-4 to just being able to go inside and eat with the type of gifts he has,
Yeah, you're tired of getting double teamed all the time.
Right. Like life might actually seem fun.
Right.
So it'd be fun to see what they can do, but there are pieces over there. I guess that's my biggest point. You know, you got Crowder, Mims on offense, a couple underrated tight ends. There's things.
Right.
Tennessee, I'm anxious to see how they fill their offensive coordinator spot now that Arthur Smith becomes the new head coach of the Falcons. And again, similar concepts in his offense, similar staples with what's going on. We're going to see his offense run by forms of this offense run by probably half the league very, very soon. Obviously, it's going to hurt Tennessee, but we saw what it did for Ryan Tannehill. This is Matt Ryan, and this is going to be interesting to me because if I don't think you can really move that yet. But secondly, why would you want to? Because he should be able to pick up this offense, at least the concepts. He should have it down already.
Right.
Win an MVP with in a similar offense. So almost like you get to come in. How awesome is that? You come in as a head coach, your offense is already almost plug and play.
Right. Right.
Look at the people there, that it's just fixing one side of the other side of the ball. Terry Fontenot is he's a favorite to be the next Falcons GM per Ian Rappaport. It'd be good to get a better decision maker from a personnel standpoint in there. They've had some big misses recently, and it's cost them. Dan Campbell in line to become the Lions' new head coach. I believe he's on the Saints staff right now. So if this does come to fruition, congratulations to him. We'll see. It's going to be a fun weekend of football, and we're going to be back to you guys soon. Figure out to start going through these drafts and all this craziness little by little. It's going to happen, but y'all have good nights.